Hello, take a seat, grab a cup of coffee, and welcome to the first episode of Jflash's Café. Now, I've wanted a series like this for a while where someone would go in detail for factions one by one, really give an example of the strengths, their weaknesses, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, just, how to play them overall. And I wanted Spooter to do something like this because Spooter's straight up just an amazing player and definitely probably the best player in TIC if he came back. And when he was doing, the first videos for the tournament, I wanted him to make something like this because as a new player, I, didn't know what to do. I was panicking over how exactly to play, what faction would suit me, stuff like that. And he never had time for it, unfortunately, but as time has gone on, I've played in all the tournaments, all the leagues. I've seen basically all the factions, all their strengths, all their weaknesses. And of course I have my mains and the factions I still don't know, but I feel like I can give a pretty good overview of the factions. And so let's just go over what this series is going to be. I don't want to call it a podcast series because I do want to show, replays and stuff, but I do think this would be something good for you to put on the background because I'm not going to I don't know if I'm going to really show everything in detail with lots of editing and stuff like that. I think I'm just going to kind of go over the faction unit by unit and then show some replays and strategies and stuff like that. I also don't want this to be a one-man series. I'm going to start it off as a one-man series because just kind of convenient overall. And, I live in USA, so it's hard to really get the Europeans with me. But we will have times where people come over to my cafe and, we sit down and we talk about their main, how they like to play them, good build for them and stuff like that. So I know Crossy and Yellow have showed interest in that, and I'm going to extend that invitation right now. If you main a faction and you are interested in, making a video with me about going in detail how to play it, just DM me and let me know, and hopefully we can set something up. But anyway, let's jump right into it. So for the pilot of the series, I want to talk about my main, which is the Greenskins. And the Greenskins, they're definitely my favorite faction. They're very fun to play. I would probably recommend them for a new player, just because they do, have a lot of diversity. They can really, they have a lot of unique builds. If you really think outside the box, you can surprise your opponent every time with a new Greenskin build. And overall, you can just have a really fun time with them. So, Greenskins I like to classify into the rush build type, in that if you're playing Greenskins, you never want a long fight. The Greenskins do not have a lot of leadership. They do not have, really, really good staying power. They have a lot of damage output, but if we look at a normal Orc Boy, that's 60 leadership. That's not going to stay. Your highest leadership units are going to be your Blockworks. I mean, those are where they're going to stay. And Lords help this, but overall, for a general overview of Greenskins, you need to seek the initiative. You can never be a defensive Greenskin army. I never recommend it. They don't really have the capabilities to make the enemy come to them, and you don't want them to come to you. You want to get that charge bonus in. You want to use the buffs with your charge to really get things going overall. And Greenskins are very fun because of that. It's you making your opponent, worry. It's you making your opponent panic. And it could be high elves with hyper elite units, but just because you went so wide with Orc Boys, you can completely surround them and demolish them, which makes the Greenskins very, very fun overall. Also, one more thing about the cafe, I will have music playing in the background. It's just some lo-fi. If you guys do not like this, I can always find different music, or I can just not have music at all, but I feel like something in the background to kind of set that mood will be good. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for overview. Just always seek the initiative, never sit back. You need to, be built. You need to be strong. You need to be fast. You need to really embrace the Wagh. If you don't embrace the Wagh, my man, you're not gonna get far in life. It's just how it is. So anyway, let's start talking about the lords. Now I want to group these 3 lords in one with the Night Goblin. Actually, hold on. First I want to show off the Orcs spell books. Where can I do that? Right here. Okay, so the Orcs have 2 spell books. They have the Little Wagh and the Big Wagh. Little Wagh's more goblin-y, more sneaky, stabby, stuff like that. Big Wagh, more orc buffs, more like stronger spells in general. I always recommend go Big Wagh. I would never really recommend Little Wagh unless you're going for the memes. But okay, let's take a detailed look at all the spells. So they have so first off, for Little Wagh, sneaky stabbing. And this actually is not a bad spell for 4 mana. For 4 winds of magic, armor piercing damage, and 24 weapon attack, melee attack. That's pretty good. Like, not gonna lie, really good spell. But I think Big Wagh has a better one. Vindictive Glare, I would never recommend taking this. You're not gonna get anything out of this. Just ignore it. It's your little cousin that doesn't exist that's annoying. Just slap him, put him in the corner. Hope he learns his lesson. Gorkle Fix It's also kind of a decent spell. It costs 7 winds of magic. But overall, kind of get rid of a charge bonus. And, get rid of speed. So it's not bad. But, better spells. Itchy Nuisance, this is also kind of a decent spell. Only 8 winds of magic. Minus weapon damage, minus 24 melee attack. A good debuff. Night Shroud. Now this one's a fun one. So, Night Shroud is very fun if you want to go for a full stock squigs where you can just completely come from behind and surprise your enemy. It's very fun to use, and that's what Little Wagh is. It's memes. Like, honestly, it's memes. Your little goblin pals are running in, being fucking stealthy and shit like that. So if you want to just kind of have a good time, just, why not? Bring Little Wagh, have fun. Curse of the Bad Moon. There are better spells. 11, like, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. Okay, let's look at Big Wagh. So for Big Wagh, Gaze and Mork, I never really recommend this spell. It's not going to do enough damage, you're not going to get enough out of it, even though it is only 4. Save up your mana for better spells. Brain Buster. Now, I would only recommend this spell if you're coming against a faction with a lot of units that don't have armor. So it can do lots of damage to units that don't have armor, and it doesn't have armor piercing, so it won't do anything to units with lots of armor. But, you can sneak some good ones in there and get some pretty decent damage out of it for only 7 winds of magic. So, overall, it's pretty solid. Fist of Gork. Now, okay. Fist of Gork, I want to talk about these 2 together. Here we go, and Fist of Gork are 2 very strong spells. If you can use them properly, you can make your Orc Boys one of the strongest melee units in the game. The Orcs really need to take advantage of this because, Orcs really excel at punching fast and punching furious. Like, really getting in there, really attacking. But remember, not a lot of staying power. And this is where Here We Go and Fist of Gork come in that you can highly buff your units. So like Orc Boys, let's see how, so Orc Boys they do 28 melee attack. So with Big Wagh, so 28, we add 40, that is math. 68, sorry, it's late at night. 68 melee attack. Then we also add this, it puts it up to 80. And then if you add Wagh, you can get your Orc Boys up to like 100 melee attack. And even if they don't have armor piercing, they will fuck up anything, man. Like, they will demolish. They will bonk and a fucking Swordmaster of Hoeth. Like, it's just crazy what you can do. And then also Grom has abilities. Take advantage of this, man. You need to buff your boys. If you don't buff your boys, they're just pathetic little goblins. You don't want them to be pathetic little goblins. You want them to be big and strong. Give them their milk, man. Give them their milk. Anyway, Headbutt. It's basically Gaze and Work, but slightly better. Don't recommend it. If you're gonna bring a damage spell, this one. Foot of Gork is actually a very good spell. And if you can, Wagh actually has a pretty good one where he can pin units, and if you can pin it and then get it, it will demolish. This is the best damage spell that works out. It costs a lot, but you can like demolish an entire elite unit instantly. Like that unit will be no more if you get a center. So this is a very solid spell. I would recommend bringing it and Here We Go for your 2 spells, or go Fist of Gork and Here We Go for a full buff power. But never bring all 3 because you won't have enough Winds of Magic. So always bring Here We Go, but either bring Fist of Gork. So either bring Fist of Gork, Here We Go, or Foot of Gork and Here We Go, because that's a good buff and then damage, or just go full buff. So I would not recommend these spells for a little while. If you're going to bring it unironically, Sneaky Stabbing, Itchy Nuisance, and Night Shroud. Okay, let's start talking about the lords. Now, so I want to group these lords together. So one of the orcs' also strong point is their lords have special abilities that can buff units around them, and these abilities are really good. Grom has some really good ones. Grom has some really good ones, and and Grimgor does. Wagh has some decent ones too. Problem is, if you're trying to don't try to save money on your lord, man. Just full on go in. You're not going to be spending that much more. I mean, unless you want to bring a Goblin Great Shaman on a Ragnarok Spider. There's no reason to bring these 3 lords ever. Not even for a saving money purpose. Always bring Grimgor upwards. Fucking Skarsnik will be better than these 3 lords. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, like I said, there's not much to talk about this. Okay, let's talk about the lords. So, first one up is Big Boy Grimgor. And if you are going to bring Grimgor, just bring everything. There's no reason not to bring everything on him. And so, Grimgor is the 2nd strongest melee lord in the game. I think only Tyrion is better than him. He can beat Archaon in a 1v1. He can beat basically any lord in a 1v1. I don't know if he could beat Kolek, but Kolek's kind of his own beast. But I wouldn't call him a best melee lord in the game. He's probably top 5, but I don't think he's 1 or 2. I think Grimgor definitely gets the 2 spot. If he had regeneration, he would be 1, but since Tyrion has regeneration, he would beat Tyrion outright, but since Tyrion has regeneration, Tyrion will win. He has abilities that will buff himself. He also has your next lord or hero, minus 24 melee attack, minus 40 melee defense, really good for sniping lords. Good for protecting himself, giving some more armor. Good for giving himself a buff. Like I said, the orcs' strength lay in their buffs. They have really good melee, they have really good units, but these units aren't going to get their full, potential unless you buff them. So always remember to buff your orcs. Remember to feed them. Don't let them starve. They need their wall, man. And if you let them starve, they're gonna die. But anyway, back on topic. Grimgor, he is a good melee lord. Problem is, he is a very big target who does not have a shield. So, remember overall that when you have a big target and you're going against a faction like Empire, or you're going a faction against Wood Elves or High Elves, anything with archers overall, first thing they're going to focus is Grimgor. They have no reason not to. If they let Grimgor get into combat, he will fuck them up. So they know to focus him, and they can do lots of damage to him really quickly. So Grimgor is good, but only bring him against Vampire Coast, Chaos, or not Vampire Coast, Vampire Counts, and Chaos. Those are the 2 factions he will do best against. Because Chaos do have, Marauder Horsemen, but if you bring some Spider Riders, you can, make them piss off. And Vampire Counts don't have anything at all, so Grimgor will do really good there. And I actually have a replay I want to show you where Grimgor does do really good. Okay. So that's Grimgor. Yeah. Really good melee. But, you know, don't bring him against, you know, people with missiles. Okay, let's talk about Skarsnik. Now, Skarsnik, he's a meme. I mean, straight up, he's a meme. He has some funny abilities. I mean, Fermented Fungi is pretty funny. You know, get units to rampage. Tricksty Traps, also really cool. You can do some funny, Squid Riders from behind with him. You know, he's just straight up meme. Yeah, he can be decent, I guess. But, you know, you got a funny goblin running around, making things invisible, making things rampage. I mean, if you want to build a goblin army, I mean, bring him. Go ahead. Go nuts, bud. Go nuts. But, you know, Skarsnik is Skarsnik. Not much to talk about him. He's anti-large. He's the only goblin that's anti-large. So, that's something to keep in mind, I guess. Okay, let's talk about my favorite boy, and the guy I'm usually bringing to all my battles, because he's probably, no, he definitely is the best orc lord, just straight up, and that is Grom. Now, Grom, he does not have armor piercing, but he is a chariot, so he's anti-infantry, and he has abilities that give him armor piercing. The Axe of Grom will give him armor piercing damage, so really going in, you can do a lot of damage. But so his abilities are also really good. You give your language of the boys, I mean, the psychology, +5 melee defense and +4 leadership. That's really good. And then the great one is leadership, weapon attack, and melee attack. You can really stack the buffs. And then, you know, he has himself a lucky banner +40. You can probably get him, if you really were trying, you could probably get Grom a 200 melee attack, if I'm honest. He is very strong. I always recommend bringing him. He can do lots of damage. There's really no downside. He has fucking regeneration. So if he takes some damage, just get him out of there. You know, go back in. Azag is here, and Azag is a giant meme. I would never ever recommend bringing Azag, even as a meme. The lore of death just kind of sucks, man. Like, just straight up. It doesn't have really any good spells. His abilities, his items, they're okay. But I mean, if you want a melee lord, bring Grimgor. If you want someone who can buff and be an absolute tank, bring Grom. Only thing Azag's got going for him is that he's got Skull Muncher. But otherwise, that's it. I would never recommend bringing Azag. He's funny. He is very funny. But he's, if only his head was as insane as his melee. If only his melee abilities were as insane as his head. He actually does have decent melee attack, but, don't bring him. Bring, you know, any other lord. Never bring these 3 lords. But, I mean, Azag is fine. Don't bring him. Just don't bring him. I don't know why I said it. Fine, I'm tired. Just don't bring Azag. Warzag. Now, Warzag used to be my favorite Greenskin lord. You can really get some good use out of him. If you are going to bring him, bring Bob, just for some protection, because he can easily be sniped. Also, same with this. If you're, you know, if you're bringing Grom or Grimgor, bring Tom. If you're bringing Warzag, bring Bob. You know, just to, you know, balance the imbalances. Warzag is good if you just kind of want to save some, not save money, but I mean, he has some good abilities, like the pinning ability is really good with Foot of Gork. Like, you can pin an elite unit and then step on it, which is very nice. Also, his abilities, just in general, are pretty good. This one's but overall pretty good. Bone Whip stats is also pretty good, and then Squiggly Beast. Biggest problem with him is how easy he is to snipe. He doesn't have lots of health, he has no armor. And if he gets in melee, he's just gonna die overall. So he is rough if you don't pay attention to him. And when you're trying to focus on, you know, forefronts of surrounding people with greenskins, Warzag is going to, you know, you get forgotten about, honestly, because you're only going to go to him for spells and shit. So, and if he dies, the leadership is already a problem. So, if you are bringing him, be careful and make sure you don't forget about him. But the one I always recommend is Grom, unless you want a really good melee lord, then Grimgor. But Grom is fast. He has armor, even though he's naked. I mean, he's as naked as Warzag, but he still has more armor than Warzag, and he's on a chariot. So, these boys, Goblin Big Boss. I have never brought him once, and I never plan to. He kind of just don't. Bob, only bring him if you're bringing Warzag. You don't really need a Black Orc Big Boss. He has regeneration. Or no, he doesn't. Never mind, I lied. Night Goblin, Shaman, only bring him if you want Little Law. Orc Shaman, bring him if you're bringing, you know, Grimgor or Grom. Giant River Troll Hag, never bring her at all. She just kind of sucks. I mean, like I said before, the Lure of Death just kind of sucks, and you're not going to get any value out of her. She's just going to die. Okay. Now, we can start talking about Greenskin Infantry. Yay! So Greenskin is the Greenskins. They have a lot overall, but your infantry is going to be what wins you the battle most times. So if I start building just a normal Greenskin army, let's say I bring Grom and a Shaman, yeah. So you should always consider your win conditions as a faction. Like, who are you going against? Let's say I'm going against like Empire, so we know they're gonna have lots of guns. We're gonna know I need to get around. We're gonna know I'm going to need to my front line's gonna get decimated unless I figure out how to get rid of those weapons first. So these guys will not win me the battle. I mean, they'll do a lot. Grom can do a lot of damage, and the Orc Shaman can buff my troops, but overall they're not gonna win the battle. Where you're going to find success is your infantry. So these first two units, so goblins, I mean, they are the bare minimum. If you are just looking, if you have extra money looking for some meat shields, bring goblins. They're meant to die. I mean, they're also expendable, so no one will care if they die. They kinda just suck. I mean, they have silver shields, so 50% of all missiles will be blocked. But overall, never really bring them as a front line. They are terrible. They do come back a lot, but they have 50 leadership, so like they'll fucking see a Demigryph Knight and then run away, pissing their pants, and then coming back after they realize, oh, okay, none of us died. So, Night Goblins, do they have stock? Yeah, they have stock, and they have Vanguard deployment, so you can pull off some beams with them if you want to, you know, get behind easily, and you want to kind of scare your unit, scare your enemy. These guys will do. They don't cost too much. Their stats aren't good, but they do have poison attacks, and they also do have silver shields, so they don't have lots of armor, but they can at least deflect some missiles coming their way. Not much to say about them. They're crazy goblins that like to run and hit things. They also, you know, they go all the time, so that's fun. But, you know, overall, they're okay. Like, I would say at max, bring 2 if you want to, you know, catch your enemy off guard. Orc Boys. Orc Boys are always my favorite frontline unit. Mostly because they're cheap. They have decent health. They have shields. And they have decent melee attack overall. They don't have armor piercing or anything, but they get the job done. You can do a lot with them. And you can, like I said, buffing is their strength. You can really overall make them strong. If you use, you know, here we go, if you use Grom's ability, you can really get them up. So they're deceiving, because the strength in Orc Boys lies in numbers, and it lies in buffs. Because they don't have a lot of melee defense, so they'll get annihilated, right? But if you can buff them with the here we go plus 40 melee attack, the Wagh, 2 Orc Boys with those, you know, buffs on will probably beat Sword Masters of Hoth, Blackguard of Nagarond, elite infantry. That's where their strength lies, is they can beat elite infantry just by outnumbering them and their buffs. So they are very solid frontline units. I would never really recommend any other frontline unit because everything else is going to die. And we'll talk about Savage Orcs in a second, but they are your, go-to frontline infantry. Very deceiving, don't cost a lot, can do a lot of damage. Nasty Skulkers. Nasty Skulkers they're not bad. They have stock and they have Vanguard deployment and they have armor piercing only for 500. So you can, again, do some memes and, run them in behind, get the enemy panicked, and then your front line goes in. Again, I'd only bring 2, like Night Goblins. Their strength lies in their armor piercing, but they'll die so quickly. Like, they have below 50 leadership. Goblins they're there to die. They run in, they scream, they shout, they let it all out, and then they die, and then they run. That's what Goblins' purpose are. That's what they do. They have good times. But overall, yeah. Night Goblin Fanatics, I think they are... Okay, so I would never bring Night Goblins overall, unless you're bringing a Goblin army. Because the Fanatic version exists, and the reason they are better is because, one, I don't think they actually do more than normal Night Goblins. No, the only difference is this thing right here, spinning loons. And something I learned while fighting Crossy when he was the Orcs was these things do a shit ton of damage. They took out an entire unit of Longbeards instantly just by popping this ability. If you use this right, it can do a lot of damage. A lot of damage. And that's where the strength lies in, so you can Vanguard deploy, hit them from behind, and then use the spinning loons. And that will decimate elite units. And it only costs 500, so if you can get a 500 unit in there, use that ability, and decimate like 800 to 1,000 cost, you've won. You've won that engagement. Even if they all die. So that's what makes them strong. You can pull off some memes with them. They have stock, so you can do some funnies with them. The Warlord Boys. Again, they have armor sundering, but I don't really see a point in bringing them. Immune psychology, but overall, yeah, nah. Okay, let's talk about Savage Orcs. So, Savage Orcs... how do I put it? What's a good analogy? Overall, they just kind of suck. They're not bad. They're a really good damage dealer. How much more? They do the same amount of damage as, as normal Orc Boys. They just... What do they actually are... What the hell? I did not realize this. Orc Boys actually have better leadership and... Or no, they have worse leadership. No, they don't. They have better. Yeah, okay. The only difference is the physical resistance, but they also have no armor. So, I did not realize how bad they were until I actually took a really detailed look right now. Yeah, don't bring them. There's no point. They do the same amount of damage as the Orc Boys. They just have a little bit better weapon strength and charge bonus, but... they cost 100 more than Orc Boys, and Orc Boys can do the job better, overall. These guys will just, any missiles coming their way will annihilate them. Doesn't matter the physical resistance, honestly, it doesn't. It does not matter. They'll just get annihilated. Just bring Orc Boys. The 8-peak Loonies. These are actually a pretty solid unit, if I'm honest. They cost a bit, but they're unbreakable. I think do they have spinning loons? No, they have the loons of the 8 peaks, so this is even better. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah, this is even better than, spinning loons. They'll do a lot more damage. You can pull off some good memes with them, and I think they just overall do more. Yeah, they're unbreakable. Yeah, this is actually a pretty solid unit. I would say bring it just for some memes, put it behind the enemy front line, wreak havoc, eat spicy goodness like boss. That's their goal in life. They're unbreakable, so you can just send them in and they'll annoy the enemy. Super good. So yeah, I'd recommend them. Depends on your build, of course, but yeah, I should probably bring them more. Okay, let's talk about Orc Boy Big Guns. So, our Orc Big Guns. Orc Big Guns are a solid unit. I would only ever bring 2 of them, never bring them as a front line. That's what the Orc Boys' jobs are for. Something like this would work, and then maybe you get 2 of those. And I would only bring these if you're going against a faction that's lots of large, so like Vampire Coast, the Tomb Kings, the Lizard Men, just stuff that can kind of, give some support to that large defense. They cost a lot, so I'd never bring a lot of them, never bring a front line of them, they cost too much. But yeah, otherwise pretty solid unit. They always can get you can get a lot of value out of them. Yeah, not much else to say. Solid unit overall. Savage Orc Big Guns, don't bring them. I mean, again, they actually do less melee attack than... I mean, they have Frenzy. And Frenzy, yeah, I also forgot. These guys also have Frenzy. And it's from their leadership is lower than 50% and makes them immune to psychology, but it's not worth it. They cost too much. Just don't bring them. Just don't. You're going to be better off with Orc Big Guns and just Orc Boys. Don't bring Savage Orcs. They're not worth it overall. Okay, now the best infantry the Orcs have, the Black Orcs. Now these are very, very solid unit. And it kind of gives the Orcs some flexibility because you don't necessarily need to go full on Orc Boys. You don't need to go, shitty infantry. If you want, there is an elite Orc build, and it comes from Black Orcs. Something like this can work, and it has worked for me on multiple occasions. It surprises the enemy, and overall you can just really fuck shit up with something like this. Black Orcs are really good. They have, especially buffed, really good armor, good leadership. They're not fast, a decent melee attack, melee defense, good weapon strength, armor piercing. They are a very good unit. If you want to, only bring a front line if you're going heavily elite, and it will counter your enemy. I mean, I only do this on rare occasion because it can be beaten kind of easily. If you don't have it doesn't have lots of flexibility, but it can be a strong build. Okay, Crimson Killers. Now, Crimson Killers, I think I've talked about them in mine and Finbest battle, but let's go in a little bit more detail. So, Crimson Killers, single best infantry in the game. Regiment Renown, of course. Now, the reason they are so good is, well, they have good stats, they have lots of armor piercing, stuff like that, but they attack in a radius. They don't attack 1v1. They attack 3 guys at the same time. This makes them incredibly strong because it's like a mini ability of the Lords, our Lords' abilities to attack multiple entities. Makes them very, very, very powerful. Usually I always recommend bringing them. There's no reason not to. I usually like to bring 2 Black Orcs, one of them being, the Crimson Killers, and then, front line of Orc Boys, and then if I do expect some large, I'll bring some Big Guns. But this is a pretty decent build. If you want to do some memes, just bring the 8 pink loonies, and, shit like that. It works out. But like I said, there's lots of flexibility in the infantry and stuff like that. Okay, let's talk about missiles and missiles in general for the Orcs. The Orcs do not have very good missiles overall. They are not heavily missile focused. Why would they be? I'm just gonna give a brief overview of these 4. Don't bring them. There's no reason to. I mean, they're not. You're not gonna get value out of them. Maybe the Night Goblin Archers, but the Fanatics are better. Yeah, for these, so for Goblin Archers, for Night Goblin Archers, for Orc Arrow Boys and Savage Orc Arrow Boys, just don't bring them. You're not going to get enough out of them. But the Night Goblin Archer Fanatics and the Rusty Arrows are actually solid units because they have stock, so they are just straight up annoying. They also have Vanguard deployment. Also, the Night Goblin Fanatics are expendable, and they have Spinning Loons. Spinning Loons is very good. The Rusty Arrows do not have Spinning Loons, but they do more damage to make up for it. With more missile strength and armor sundering. So, I mean, I would bring like if you want to, you can bring like 2 of these to support your front line. Yeah, I don't see a problem in that. Okay. Missile cavalry. So overall, Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. I'll be real with you, for Goblin Wolf Chariots and Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, I don't really recommend them. Spider Goblin, Goblin Spider Rider Archers are much better compared to them. I mean, Goblin Wolf Riders are faster, but you know, Spider Riders are straight up better, so just don't bring them, honestly, just don't. But let's talk about probably one of my favorite orc units, or goblin units, I guess, is the Force Goblin Spider Rider Archers. Now, they are very underrated. You should always bring 1 or 2 or 3 of these, just because they are such a fucking nuisance, just on life and everything, that your opponents will like go, God damn it, get these fucking Spider Riders, and they'll focus on that while your main line can move up. It's very successful, and the alternative is they get sprayed with poison attacks. They aren't that fast, but they're decent. They also do poison damage in melee, and their missiles are poison. They have Vanguard deployment. They are just very solid. I do recommend. Regiment of Renown version. What do they have different? I never really bring them. Oh wow, they have regenerate. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. No, it's not. They have regeneration. That's good. They also have Strider, which ignores, you know, difficult terrain, fire while moving. Yeah, that can do that too. But yeah, never mind. They already did that straight off. But these, no, they're solid. They cost a bit more, but if you have some extra money to spend, I don't see a bad reason to bring them. I again would not bring these 2. Missile chariots in general look very good, but they're just not. I mean, 210 missile strength, cool. There's 6 guys shooting. They're not gonna get enough off. Yeah. The only really important thing to take here is the Force Goblin Spider Riders. Use these. They're very good. Okay, the next couple things. Monsters and Beasts. Squig Herd. Do they have Vanguard deployment? No. Okay. I don't really recommend these. You're not going to get a lot out of them, honestly. Oh, did I fucking skip Cavalry? I straight up skipped Cavalry. Okay, well, after I talk about Monsters and Beasts, we'll go to Cavalry. I'm tired. Let's start talking about Monsters and Beasts. So yeah, like I said, Squig Herd, not really worth it. I mean, they can be a pestilence. They have armor piercing, which isn't bad, but they have rampage, and, you know, they're going to be kind of hard to control. But, I mean, if you can use them right, they can do damage. Trolls. Trolls are a... Nah. If you're going to bring trolls, bring stone trolls. Even river trolls aren't that good. They just don't have leadership, and, you know, they look good, but overall, they're not good. And they also don't have lots of, you know, armor, so they can just get focused and die. I mean, if they can get to combat, they can do a lot of damage, but even in combat, they are going to kind of get fucked because they're low with leadership. Stone trolls are a little bit better. They do more damage. They have more armor. Overall, they're good. They have magic resistance and missile resistance. They also have regeneration. So, stone trolls are a solid unit, but remember, they cost the same amount as black orcs. And I think black orcs are superior units, so I would only bring them if you want to have that fear factor, or if you think you can get them in combat for a while where they won't rout. But otherwise, you know, they kind of just suck. Swamp Things. I've never used these, but they don't look bad. I mean, they have poison and armor piercing, so they cost a shit ton though. So if you're bringing them, beware of that. But yeah, they look okay. They're aquatic, so I mean, for fighting underwater, that will help you out. Okay, now let's talk about the best unit, the Giant. You always want to make sure to bring at least 5 to 10 of these, if you can, if I will allow it. Okay, Giants suck. I'm going to be real with you, fam. They just straight up suck. They have 100 leadership, which I did not know. And they have, you know, good melee attack and weapon strength. But let's look at a very specific thing here. Armor 30. Giant equal big target. Big target equal missile. Go boom boom. Missile go boom boom equal giant die. You with me? So giants, they on paper look very good. I mean, they have armor piercing, 600 weapon strength. They can do a lot of damage if they get there. Usually they're just going to be focused and they're going to die instantly. So I mean, against chaos, against, you know, vampire counts, they might be good. But overall, I don't recommend it, fam. Just don't, man. Just bring black orcs, bring a normal, anything else. Don't bring a giant. Just don't. Okay? You with me? Good. I want you to take giants. I want you to put him in the trash where he belongs. I want you never to touch him ever again. Unless you're fighting chaos or a vampire counts. Otherwise, in the trash he goes. Okay, Arachnarch Spider. Now, the Arachnarch Spider is very solid. But I more want to talk about the Arachnarch Queen. So, just in general, it's a very strong anti-large. Bring it if you're expecting large, like Lizardmen or Tomb Kings. But if you are bringing it, just bring the Arachnarch Queen. There is no reason not to bring the Arachnarch Queen, especially against large, heavy factions. This is the single best anti-large in the game. I don't care what anyone says. It is the single best anti-large in the game. I don't care what the Tomb Kings have. I don't care what the Lizardmen have. This is the best anti-large in the game. Because of poison, and because of armor piercing, and bonus of large, and because of buffs, and also missiles at the same time. Along with this, it will summon spider hatchlings, which can be an annoyance and will focus enemy attacks away from the Arachnarch Queen, making it a very, very, very solid unit. Always bring this if you're expecting large. Always. It is very, very good. I have nothing bad to say about it, except it costs a lot, and you're going to need to find a spot for it. But, you know, overall, it is very, very solid. A very solid unit. Okay, Rogue Idol and the big one. So I'll just talk about the big one when talking about the Rogue Idol. So these are very big units. They have missile resistance. They have lots of armor. They are very solid units. The problem is they are so slow and so big. Every missile on the map will fight. Even your missiles will fucking shoot them because it's that big and it gets in the way. I mean, just overall, it's very big, and if there are missiles, it's gonna be focused. Remember that. And it costs a shit ton. Like the big one especially nearly costs 3,000, so you need to get your value out of it. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about its the big guns and the Rogue Idols buff. It does so much fucking damage. Literally throw this at any infantry in the game, it will demolish it. Chosen with halberds, get the fuck out of here, you're dead. The Phoenix Guard, get the fuck out of here, you've been stomped on and laid on by Gork and Mork. I mean, especially the big gun, it does so much damage, and if you buff it, easily can get it up to 200 melee attack, and it will demolish everything with its weapon strength, and its 200, and its bonus against infantry and armor piercing. It also throws rocks at people because of course it does. I mean, overall, this is a very good unit, a very, very, very good unit. Let me tell you a little Jflash secret. My favorite build against the chaos is big gun orcs, because the big gun will demolish anything chaos. Chaos can literally throw nothing at the big gun. Even the dragon, the dragon ogres, even them, like the Regiment of Renown, will have trouble dealing with it, because if you're supporting it with black orcs, it can just demolish. I've seen it take Kolic out 1v1. I mean, just overall, it is an amazing unit. Problem is, it's so big, it's gonna get focused. So, but even then, they can outrange most artilleries. So if it can get to combat, it's very strong, but it's gonna have a hard time getting to combat because it's so slow. It does have a lot of health. I think I thought it was at 14,000 before. They might have nerfed it. But like I said, very solid unit. Causes fear, causes terror. Gives leadership to everyone on the map, and it can never run out of ammo because it just is so strong. Okay, now I forgot about cavalry, so let's go back to cavalry. So Goblin, okay, let's talk about these 3 units. Don't bring them. They suck. I mean, you're not going to get any value out of them. Maybe Force Goblin Spider Riders, but just bring the missile versions. Yeah, they're fast. That's about it. I guess, do they have Vanguard deployment? They do, but they are nothing compared to Squigs. Night Goblin Squig Riders, very, 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 very good. They are fast. They have Vanguard deployment. They have armor piercing. They have poison. They are immune to psychology. Ain't nothing scaring these boys as they charge into the back of an Empire gun line. And they will do so much damage. I very much recommend them if you want to get behind enemy lines and you want to do a lot of damage overall. They are very, 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 very solid. Yeah, a very good anti-infantry cav. They don't cost that much, and they're just strong overall. Okay, Orc Boar Boys. These are actually pretty solid units if you bring a lot of them. So if you're going against Bretonnia, you can beat their cavalry just because you can bring more cav, and you can buff them. So here we go against cav against Bretonian cav. Like, ooh, I'm forgetting names right now, but like against questing knights, they cost half the price, but just because you can bring more of them, you'll win, and you can buff them. So they also have armor piercing. They're just a solid unit in general. If you really are expecting cav, bring them. They're really the only cav I would recommend. Savage orcs kind of have that problem of they're savage orcs. Orc boy big guns they just cost so much. I mean, it's hard to bring an actual army when you're bringing this many, because you need to bring a decent amount of them. Otherwise, it's kind of, but like if I was going to try to bring a normal army to fight Bretonnia with, and I would never use this build to fight Bretonnia, honestly. Bretonnia is a really good matchup for the orcs though, honestly. But like, I guess something like that, maybe like that, nah. I'll probably do something along these lines, and maybe like that, get rid of one of these, get that, yeah. But the problem is these cost so goddamn much, and I think honestly you'll be better off just with some orc boy big guns. You have a little bit extra money, buy one of those, up that maybe, make it very strong. You know how it is. So I would really only recommend orc boar boys. Otherwise, you're spending too much money. Yeah, I would never recommend the broken tusk mob or the savage orc boar big guns. They just cost too much, and you're not going to get enough out of them. Just straight up, if I'm honest. Yeah, that kind of speaks for my opinion. Orc cavalry, night goblin squig riders, and orc boar boys. 2 very strong units, but they're really the only cap I would recommend. Artillery. Snortling pump wagons are actually pretty good. They are unstoppable. They are expendable. They are armor piercing. You can do a lot of damage to infantry with them, especially the ones with flappas, the explodas, and the spiky rollers. That rhymes. But overall, if you want, yeah, fuck it, I'll recommend them. They can actually do a lot of damage. If you use them right. It takes a lot of micro, but if you can use them right, they can do a lot of damage. Goblin lock robbers. I do not recommend these. You're not going to get enough value out of them. You can spend your money better elsewhere. if you're going to bring one, just, I guess, bring hammered orc. But, like, why are you bringing artillery in the first place? You're not going to... I never recommend an orc defensive build overall. If you are going to bring artillery, just bring Doom Diver Catapult, because they guide themselves. They can do a decent amount of damage. Because it's just fucking crazy goblins. Being airplanes, committing 9/11 acts on, you know, on any nearby units. So, yeah, they're not bad. Okay, let's talk about builds and matchups. So, my normal orc build, and it's always different because in Warhammer you should always account for who you're fighting against and how you can counter them in the player and stuff like that. But let's say I'm going against a random who's playing Empire. This is probably my most basic of basic builds, but I'm going to bring Grom, a Shaman with, here we go, in Foot of Gork. I'm not going to bring his items, his abilities are okay. I'm going to bring a front line of Orc Boys, we'll bring Crimson Killers, and 1 Black Orc. Then we're going to get squigs, about 3 squigs, and 3 Goblin Spider Riders. And we'll do 4 of them. And that leaves me with a bit of extra money. So I'm going to use that extra money. I'm not going to get a Goblin or anything because that's not really going to help me. I'm just going to up my Spider Riders. This is a decent build against Empire because you can easily get behind them. You can kind of threaten them with a lot of mass infantry. Squigs can come and hit them from behind. A Spider Rider, archers can hit them from the sides. So this is a pretty bare bones, basic, you know, orc build. Use it against Empire. It can be good against Vampire Coast. Even dwarves. But dwarves I'd go more elite. High elves, it could be good against high elves too. Okay, now let's take a look at like a more elite. So let's say I was going against a chaos player. If I was going against a chaos player, this is one of my favorite builds in the game, but I'm going to bring Grimgor because remember, he can't be focused by missiles by chaos. I'm going to bring a full Black Orc army, because they will be able to basically fight anything Chaos can bring. And I am going to bring the big gun. And is there anything else I want to bring to support? I'm going to bring some Spider Goblin Riders. Not that many. Like, yeah, I wonder if there's... How exactly would I do this? Well, if I was going against Chaos, something like this, and then maybe just you know, an archer to throw in there just to kind of fill out the ranks. But you know, this would kind of bring the Chaos player to surprise, and nothing can fight the big gun. Oh no, you know what I forgot? I almost committed the cardinal sin. Always remember to bring the Orc Shaman, because remember, orcs are strongest when they have buffs. And so we're just gonna probably take away those. And this will actually be a very solid build against Chaos overall. Yeah, because Grimgor can fight basically anything they have 1v1, even Kolek and Arcan. You can beat them 1v1. Black Orcs will be able to hold their own against Chosen if they are there. We have some Spider Riders for harassment and the big gun, which Chaos has nothing to counter the big gun. Even the Summoners of Rage will have a problem if you are throwing Black Orcs at them too. So, yeah. Those are 2 solid orc builds, but remember, experiment a lot, because orcs are very unique. They have a lot. They can, you know, throw. They have multiple builds. They can really throw at people overall. They are very diverse. You can even bring stone trolls if you want. There's just a lot. It also makes them a good new player faction, because you can do a lot with them. And the only thing you're not learning is defensive builds. But I don't really recommend defensive builds overall, because you should always be trying to seek the initiative. Even as Skaven and Vampire Coast, always try to seek the initiative. Okay, we're gonna watch one replay because it's getting late and we're almost an hour into the recording. But we'll do. We haven't talked about this one yet, but we'll do meme variants 1. So yeah, this is a pretty basic overview of, how I would fight Bretonia. I'm bringing 3 Orc Boy, I'm bringing Grom, a Shaman, 3 Orc Boys, 2 Orc Boy Big Guns, 2 Black Orcs, 3 Squigs, 1 Retro Renown Skig, probably because I had some extra money. And I also got some Spider Riders who are over here and are meant to harass. So, I'll go in more detail to this battle when me and Crossy get to it eventually. But see, immediately I am moving forward. I'm trying to seek the initiative. I'm trying to surround him. I wish I could draw arrows, but I can't, and it really annoys me. Yeah, I really wish I could draw arrows. But I have my squigs back here. My squigs are going to ambush him from the side. They're going to try to get to these catapults, these trebuchets, try to get to the archers. While I imagine my spider riders are going to try to shoot those. And any cav they see, they will fire at. So I'm going to take this actually a little fast. But you see immediately, I'm moving up. Spider riders going to the side. Variance is kind of making a screw up by sending these after him, but I think he realized it's kind of quick. But, this is what they're best at. They're best at being an annoyance. You want them to be an annoyance. You want them to make your enemy send random shit that costs more. And they can do decent damage to do the poison. Moving my squigs up, but you see I am attacking on multiple sides. I'm trying to make him panic. He is in a defensive position, while I have one flank moving up. We have my spider riders on this one, and then my squigs. My squigs are getting right behind him, and squigs are easy to micro too. You can do a lot of damage with them if you use them correctly. You see he has nothing defending, and he isn't noticing, probably because he is trying to micro this over here, and I am winning the initiative battle overall. I am taking out a trebuchet. These boys are going to die, but overall they're rich around. They're meant to just get in there and do damage. I need to be more proactive over there, moving my front line up, just causing panic, causing tons of shit to go on. Trying to make him panic, taking out his back line as fast as I physically can. He's sending questing knights over to deal with squigs when he should be trying to get behind me. Because so much is going on, he isn't realizing big guns are going to run into the forest, and since cavalry in general will have problem fighting in the forest, those big guns are going to easily win. But you see, I am winning the initiative battle, which is what you want to do as the orcs. I am surrounding, and even though my squigs are running, they did so much damage in the back line. The trebuchets are gone. Good foot of work. Stepped on the cav, stepped on that, ran them away, got that group up to leave. My infantry is finally reaching to the side, reaching to the front. I should be doing more with my spider riders, sending them to the side, doing more harassment, especially trying to harass these over here, the Royal Hippogriff Knights. He's sending them into my Crimson Killers. Bad idea. They will do a lot of damage there. There we go. Yeah, I put down an Here We Go, which is going to boost them a shit ton. He is sending, this is a good move by Variance, sending them back, but he is focusing the Crimson Killers too much. I'm destroying his questing knights over here, and as soon as I reach more stuff over here, his best units are going to get annihilated. But we got a Wagh, so right now Crimson Killers are sitting at 109 melee attack. What am I doing with Grom? Where's Grom at right now? I have no idea. He did good getting rid of my Crimson Killers, actually, but I think he is focusing them too much. He was thinking I was relying on them to win me the battle when I'm not. Crimson Killers aren't going to win me the battle overall. They're going to help, but they're not going to. My main infantry line of Orc Boys is actually going to win me the battle. My Crimson Killers are still going to do lots of damage, but my Black Orcs are. So Spider Goblins going into harass, more shit going on. His Royal Hippogriff Knights, I think they've actually done a decent amount of damage overall. Not really for what they cost. But this is just a mosh pit over here. But Grom should also be doing more. But overall, you see my point of I came in, I rushed, everything is super chaotic for him. While meanwhile, you can see a semblance of a front line for me. All my spider riders are now just going to be an annoyance shooting Luen. And you see this battle is almost basically over. It's now just kind of a cleaning up process of me using Grom to try to kill Luan. The Hippogriff Knights are soon going to get out. And overall, there's another, here we go. I imagine if I also start buffing him, or start buffing Grom, he's going to do a lot of damage. Yeah. Grom, if used correctly, can do a shit ton of damage. A very, very, very big amount. See, also, Spider Rider's very good. Like I said, harassing a unit that costs, like, so much more than they do. Like, up to nearly 10 times more is finishing them off. Because they can't chase down, they're poisoned. Stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to speed this up because this is basically over. It's just me trying to finish off Luan. And I think he actually concedes pretty quickly here. But yeah, there we go. His Hippogriff Knights. And, you know, yeah, there we go. Master out. I win. Okay, well, that finishes it off for our... I mean, thank you for coming to the cafe and staying this long. This was a long video. I'm going to try to make it more interactive and not so much me just kind of staring at the screen talking. I might actually start editing videos and shit to try to make them a bit more better, but this is, you know, episode 1 of the cafe. I hope, you know, this kind of provoked your mind. Oh, actually, one last thing, matchups. I would say the orcs match up good against everything. The only ones I would not, they don't match up too good against is the vampires and the undead factions, just because, you know, low leadership and stuff like that. But I mean, they're so diverse, they kind of have a counter to everything. I mean, when we do me and Crossy's fights, you'll see how I was able to kind of use orc flexibility to counter 100% his vampire counts. But that should do it for today. I mean, thank you for coming to the cafe, and I hope you enjoyed your stay. But again, this is episode 1, so improvements will come. I'll be listening to your guys' feedback. Yeah, and I hope we get some guests on here, so it's not just me rambling and jacking off to orcs. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you come again to enjoy a nice cup of coffee at the cafe.